All right, we're going to be discussing the mechanics from a front view, and we're just going to concern ourselves with our path or the flow down the mound. So we already got these videos to the top of these guys' leg lifts. Obviously, every pitcher comes down the mound at different rates, different speeds. However, to make these guys flow together, I have changed up their speeds to fit. So what we're going to see is that we got Jerry Jones over here getting that front leg fully extended and really sitting into his delivery. We got Greinke, who's got his knee, which is going to be further back towards second base than his foot is. He's really taking this front knee and kind of curling it back so that his front hip stays closed. And Kirby is going like Jones here with his front leg, but he's keeping it in a more bent position rather than kicking it straight out like Jones. But what we do notice is no matter how these guys load into their back hips, getting down into their legs, engaging their lower halves, what do we notice? We notice where the glove is going. And that's to help them be able to see over their front shoulder. They want to be looking down the barrel of their shoulder, because the longer we can be looking here over this shoulder as we proceed down the mound. Obviously, we've gotten back to center, but look, we're still looking right over that shoulder. Still looking right over that shoulder. Still looking right over that front shoulder. The longer we can do that into our moment of foot strike, bam, bam, we can see front shoulder, and our head is still trying to fight to keep that front, or rather our front shoulder is still fighting to stay above our chin. The front shoulder is still fighting to stay in above the chin. The front shoulder is still fighting to stay in above the chin. And when we do that, we can see that the back hip now has been able to come through, exposing the belt buckle to the batter, to our catcher, but preventing, because that front shoulder's fought to stay in so that we continue to look over it. Look what that's done with our chest. It's kept it squared up, squared up, squared up, as that lower half has been able to fire, and there lies our upper lower half separation that we're trying to achieve. And now here comes the most important part. Getting into this position is key for both our power production, our ability to throw the baseball with our body, thus reducing the amount of stress that's going on through our arm during that delivery, and helping ensure, this wasn't the straightest line here, helping ensure our energy continues to flow to the catcher. All right, we can see that head staying there, that head staying there. Kirby's fighting to keep it in there. And you can see he's fighting to keep it in there because it did not go more out there. So we're rotating that back shoulder. We're rotating that back shoulder forward. forward, forward, forward. So that way all of our power can be flung through those fingers, out through that ball, forward. If we watch that again without any interruption, into foot strike, out of foot strike. Everything staying in line with our target. And then noticing as they're getting into release, where are those chin and chests going? To the target. To the target. The angle of our trunk, this mass from our shoulders through our waist, our trunk right now is upright. It's above our hips. In relation to the ground, it's in a 90-degree angle. As we get into release, those trunks in relation to the ground are no longer up here trying to throw the baseball. Instead, in relation to the ground, these trunks of these elite throwers of the baseball, both in terms of command, the best to ever do it, in terms of longevity and success, one of the best to do it, and an upcomer with elite velocity and potential to be an all-star. Every one of their trunks at release went from being up here at foot strike to out here at release, bringing that energy down the mound, but most importantly, towards our target. And that's something that we're able to see even easier and more clearly in the side view videos. All right, so if we kind of take this back once more and we see these arm slots, we'd say, boom. Oops, let me draw a better line than that. Right, we're at a high three-quarter, three-quarter. We are in a same thing, three-quarter, high three-quarter. Same thing here, right? So these are some of your most common arm slots are the three-quarter to high three-quarter arm slot. And then what we'll look at next here are some guys that are in that lower three-quarter tier. So we'll let, we got Luis Hill, Kyle Harrison, and Carl Crawford. All right, so the same thing, moment of that foot strike, we can see that they're still fighting to keep that front shoulder in, keep that front shoulder in, fighting to keep that front shoulder in, and then coming to release and through, we can see how those heads are fighting to stay in. Luis Hill a little bit outside, but we can see through release, bam, it's there, it's there, it's there, it's there. Now it's out, which is no big deal. It's already stable for long enough post-release, bam, that he could do a cartwheel over here if he wanted to after. So fighting to keep that front shoulder in, And by doing that, the shoulders have stayed squared up, and with a good lower half timing and pattern sequencing, we got the back hip to have come forward, exposing that belt buckle to the batter, creating that upper and lower half separation that we're trying to seek in order to achieve higher velocities and minimize the stress that's put on our arm during these high intense and continuous throws. If we then take these guys into their moment of release, we got that same concept that we did earlier, and we can see here's our low 3/4, even getting closer, some would say, to even true sidearm. We have that low 3/4, and we got that 3/4 to low 3/4. But what we can notice is all the same with those different arm slots, but the most common arm slots in our game. All these guys are fitting the same bill in their own unique ways, but these important key points are all very much getting checked off by each, no matter what. All right, now that we've had the opportunity to watch from those big leaguers, everyone's going to be grouped with someone else so we can get into more detail of our delivery. So we got you three righties up here synced up first to the moment when your front foot gets into the ground. And we'll play this 2 times through. This first time, as you're seeing, is all in motion. Second time, we'll pause it at that moment of foot strike so we can discuss in more detail, like we did with the big leaguers, your guys' deliveries. So here we are at that moment of foot strike. So again, that's when that front foot gets itself not just touching the ground, and we can see all of us are touching the ground at different points in time. Over here, because this front leg isn't fully rotating before that front foot hits the ground, that knee isn't rotating to get underneath the hip and above the foot. It's landing on the inside part of your foot first, and then the rest of the foot must roll into the ground there. The rest of your foot is rolling into the ground there, and our leg is still in a pretty aggressive closed off position, which is going to make it difficult for the things that are behind to rotate around this. We can see over here, we have that slight angle, but it's a lot less than what your angle is. Right? That kneecap is a lot more making its way towards the catcher, along with the foot in a better alignment towards the pitcher, or sorry, the catcher as well. So if we just watch the difference in that front foot, both of you guys' feet are aligned very similar at this point in time, but we can see how much he's getting his front foot to rotate. And because of that, the kneecap right now, which for both of you guys is over towards third base dugout at this point in time, we can see how his kneecap is getting rotated from that third base dugout towards the target. And then how that is just not occurring at the same rate that your leg is. Excuse me. Your leg won't get into some sort of this position or this position until much later in your delivery, and we can see it's now that knee has gotten between the hip and the foot, like we talked about in the beginning, right? There's that knee. But where did that knee start? It started way over here. So as your leg is trying to finish its rotation, is at the same exact time your shoulders are trying to rotate. And if we're rotating the lower half at the same time we're rotating the upper half, we do not have that separation we talked about with the big leaguers, that upper and lower half, or the shoulders and the hips separating from one another. If we continue on that point of separation and we make our way all the way over here, we can see that at the point of your front foot getting into the ground, yeah, you may be doing a good job of getting the lower body to start to rotate towards the target, but we can see how much of that upper body is also rotated towards the target. So now as your back hip drives power forward, you're also rotating your back shoulder at the same time. Your entire body is rotating together. And not only is your body rotating together, we can see how much of your upper body is rotating before your front foot gets fully into the ground. So now you're left with having to throw this baseball from this position here, which is not powerful, not strong, not healthy, not repeatable. Right? Now we're stuck with just having to push this baseball. Just push this baseball. Push this baseball. Rather than rotating and rotating to throw that baseball. Right? And if we then, oops, how did I do that? There we go. If we then go back to you two guys over here and continue to talk about that separation, yeah, you guys don't have as much of your upper body rotating towards the target as we do over here. However, like we saw in the big league videos, they were all somewhere around here. Chin, shoulder, glove working into the body, and what? Seeing the hand either straight behind the head towards second base or being able to see it on your back side, right? Both of you guys right now, if your front feet were fully into the ground at this point in time, you guys would have perfect upper body positions. But we can see by the time your feet do get fully into the ground that you've lost that good positioning, you've lost that separation, and now we can start to see your throwing arm on third base side, which means you're not as loaded, you're not cocked back as much, you're not as separated as much, you don't have as much stored up power. So all three of us here are going to want to learn how to get the lower body to rotate first, the hips rotating first, the knees rotating first, the feet rotating first, then get it into the ground, then rotate the shoulders around. In regards to that, we really over here need to learn how to rotate that front leg, specifically that front knee, more completely before that front foot hits the ground. Then we also need to learn how to keep shoulders back. But most importantly, we need to learn how to get this front leg to rotate, and then we'll concern ourselves with getting this upper body to stay back. Your front leg already rotates. Your backside already does what we want it to do. We just need to do it more aggressively so that way it can complete sooner, so that way we're more here when it completes versus here when it completes. So everything that you're doing with this back knee and back foot to rotate yourself forward is good. We just want to start it a little bit sooner. Everything you're doing with this front leg is good, but because this back leg is going to occur a little bit, sooner, this rotation will occur a little bit quicker, which means it'll finish sooner. And if it finishes sooner, that means it's in the ground right now, and we're exactly where we want to be. But because it does not finish sooner, boom, this is where we want to be. So you're close. It's just timing. We need to get this stuff to occur faster and more aggressively so it can be on time with the upper body. And then we come over then to here, and your front leg is kind of rotating, your back leg is kind of rotating, and your shoulders are doing a lot of rotating. So we're going to need to learn what it feels like to rotate this back leg. We're going to need to learn what it feels like to rotate this front leg. So that way you can rotate both of them while we also learn what it's going to take to keep these shoulders back, 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 back. So we have a lot of upper lower half separation drills to do. We got a decent amount of lower body rotation drills just to feel what it feels like to do that movement so you can do it sooner and more aggressively. And then we got to get front leg rotation drills so you can learn how to get that thing fully rotated. And then upper lower half separation drills so you can keep that upper body back, 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 back. So we'll let this play again for you guys here so you can see what that looks like and how you got to that position. And then again, with that quick pause at that moment of foot strike, when we're going to note one last thing over here, and that is after this front foot gets in the ground, because this is in such a bad position, then it's got to rapidly go over there. We can see how much this foot then is like, oh my goodness, I can't even stabilize it. I got to get back over here now. Because it rotated so far that way, it had a reaction of having to go back that way. So that's the reason you're seeing all of this craziness here. Your entire body can't be stabilized where you're at because it's got to get back to where that knee was originally. Where was that knee originally? Here. Where does the foot eventually get back to? Right underneath where the knee originally was. And we don't want all that. That's why we need the knee to get here right away. All right, we got our lefty group up here. Play through 2 times for you guys. One time will be all in motion so you can see what you look like. Second time we'll pause it at that moment that our front feet get into the ground, and that way we can better discuss our delivery that we have here compared to those big leaguers. So this time that we play it, we'll have it synced up so that way your front feet get into the ground at the same exact time. And boom, there we are at that moment of foot strike. So just like we talked about with those big league videos, once that front foot not just touches the ground, and we can see over here we're a big time heel hitting first because we're not getting this front leg to rotate before the front foot hits the ground. And the reason that this front leg does not want to rotate before it hits the ground is because this back leg is not rotating before the front foot hits the ground. We can see both your front foot and back leg look very much like our man over here's front foot and back leg. But look, he's not even touching the ground yet. As he continues to get into the ground, we can see how much more that back foot is rotated, how much more this front leg is rotated. All right? But as your front foot hits the ground, we haven't done anything yet in terms of rotation. All of your rotating is occurring after that heel has hit the ground. So not a whole lot can occur in terms of rotation. So we got to learn how to rotate this entire leg, more specifically this knee, so that way when you get this foot in the ground here, we don't have this big old angle. We got a hip here, we got a foot here. Even if we're going to be this closed off, we need a knee somewhere in between there. And we can see that knee's way over here, which means at some point it's going to have to go over here in order for you to throw. And we can see as soon as that heel gets in the ground, the only thing that that knee is doing is going over there. And then as you go to throw, it's going to want to go even more over there. So we need to just get it already underneath us more. And then to do that, we're going to want to avoid this big old gator chomp with your foot. We want to land nice and flush, flat, and smooth as quickly as we can, getting into that ground. Okay, so again, here we are once that front foot gets all that weight into it. And like we talked about with the big leaguers, we want to see that chin looking down that shoulder with that glove tucked up into our body. We want to be able to see that belt buckle because the back hip has driven us forward. We can see the back foot is turned over, getting that lower body to go forward. All while the shoulders stay sideways. And the only way the shoulders can stay sideways is if that chin is still looking over the shoulder. We can see over here the shoulders are not sideways anymore, and we know that because here's the chin looking right over the center of your chest, and here's your shoulder over here outside of your ear. We can see all of your shirt's logo. we can see all of your shirt's logo. I got no clue what's on our guy's shirt over here. And that's because his shoulders are closed. I can see your throwing arm over here. I can see your throwing arm over here. Where's his arm? No clue. Why? Because it's loaded up back behind him. So now when you guys go to rotate, you guys are trying to throw the baseball from here. You're trying to throw the baseball from behind your head and your elbow out around your body. This is, boy, a lot of stress being put on your arm. So then when you guys go to throw now, we can see how all of your energy is sending the ball where? Out. All of your ball's energy is going out. Where's all of your ball's energy going? Up. Up. Where's his throw's energy going? To the target. And I got to get this out of the way so we can even see that. All of his energy is going to the target. To the target. And the reason it's going to the target is because he was in line with the target before he started to throw. You're already going this way. So when this thing back here comes around, it's going to end up going that way, which is an up direction. Same thing here. Because your elbow's already out here and your other elbow's out here, your energy is going to go out there. But because we're lined up, we're going to be able to rotate it forward. Boom. And this is going to help keep our accuracy consistent. This is going to help keep our arm healthy. This is going to keep our body under control. And this is going to help lead to a very successful and healthy pitching delivery. Now, the one thing I will note, and I think we mentioned this at our session, is once we get here, boom, we got now getting this down the mound. Pull your shoulders down and around. And we can see your chest kind of just stays up, 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 up. So much so up that now we lose your heel connection to the ground because you're going so far up, 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 up. And now we can't finish that rotation and we just kind of fall forward. We just kind of fall forward. Versus something that we do pretty good over here is just finish the hip around while we're able to stay connected to the ground here. So being able to keep that front foot in the ground is going to allow your chest to come down more with that throw. And I haven't done this with anyone else, and I'm not going to do it with anyone else, but for you, because you're left-handed. Let me get a couple examples of that for you real quick. And it doesn't even need to be, from the left side. Let's just get some guys that we can show that throw hard that you're going to know the name of, and we can look at their front feet. Okay, so Ben Joyce, this is when he was with Tennessee, but we'll just watch, even though it's kind of blurry, that front foot gets down, and then boom, so that heel stays in the ground so everything can rotate down. Watch how we can see the volunteers on his chest there, right? We can't read it, it's blurry, but as he throws, that chest goes down more before his whole body then comes up after. Let's watch it here with Paul Skeens in a more clear video. All right, so I just want to think about getting that chest to come on down with that pitch of yours. And that's going to help the heel stay in the ground longer. Foot in the ground. Heel staying in the ground. But all in all, everything that we're doing in the middle here is looking real good. So our guys on the ends here, we're going to want to study the middle here to be able to see the adjustments we're going to want to be making, right? And the biggest thing for the three of you guys is understanding, one, we got to rotate this leg and get it lined up to the target before our front foot hits the ground, so that way our front foot can land level. And then from there, once that foot is in the ground, we don't want this front shoulder to be opening up yet, because it's not time to start throwing yet. So you guys got to learn how to wait. Be patient with your upper body and then throw. So we're going to be doing a lot of throwing drills that are going to promote the upper-lower half separation. A lot of upper-lower half separation drills and throwing drills. So if you want a head start, go on the YouTube page, mechanical drills. Anything that says upper-lower half separation, you can start chipping away at it. All right, we got you two guys up here synced up to the moment your front foot's going to hit the ground. You'll get to watch it twice. The first time will be all in motion here. Second time, we'll pause it at that moment of foot strike so we can discuss your body's positionings and compare them to the big leaguers that we just got done discussing and studying, so that way we know the direction we want to take our development here. All right, so here we are at that moment of foot strike. And again, that's when that front foot not just touches the ground, but gets into the ground, and we start bearing some of our body's weight onto that leg. Okay, so boom, here we are. Like we talked about at the big league videos, we're splitting the body into halves. We got the upper and the lower half that we're trying to separate from one another, meaning the lower half is rotating towards the target at the moment of that front foot getting us into the ground, while the upper half fights to stay back. And we can see both of you guys are doing a pretty good job of getting your lower bodies to rotate into that foot strike, into that moment of landing. The one thing we can note is that we're pretty late with the rotation in the front leg, and that's why so much of the inside part of your foot hits the ground first, and then we got to roll the rest of the foot. Then you see that there occurring. That foot is having to roll itself into the ground, and that's because the knee is just so late rotating. You're relying on the foot's rolling over to get the knee into position. So we need to learn how to get this front knee to rotate a little bit more, so that way we're not dependent on the rolling of the foot to roll the knee into its alignment. Okay? And when the lower body is late to fire, we're going to be late to load the arm, because the arm loading up is synced up with the hips and the lower body firing forward. And what we're going to notice, like we said, because your lower body is late to fire, we're going to notice once that foot is in the ground, how late your arm is getting up. At this point in time of foot strike, we're looking for that arm to be in its 90-90. Right? And its 90-90 would look like this. We'll show it from the side view since we haven't had any opportunities to really look at that yet. All right. Let's use Hunter Brown as an example. As he's getting into foot strike, and every thrower that gets into foot strike, their arm is loaded to A. So we'll get foot strike and weight bearing, boom. We got this 90-90 like positioning. That arm is loaded up. If we pulled a bunch of guys at random that you're going to know who they are, every one of them is going to have that same exact position at that moment of foot strike. Paul Skeens, when he was in college, moment of foot strike, boom, his arm is up. DeGrom, the moment of foot strike, boom, His arm is up. Corbin Burns, the moment of foot strike. Arm is up. Jose, moment of foot strike. Is up. Flaherty, moment of foot strike. That arm is going to be loaded up. We can see your arm is not loaded up. It's over here. And the reason is because, like I said, the hips and the arm load together. And because your hips are late, so are your arms. If we took this from the front view real quick, just so you can see where those arms are getting loaded at that point in time, we'll get some different guys here that we haven't used yet that we'll be able to see pretty easily. All right. Foot is in the ground, arm is loaded up, versus your arm is not loaded up. Bobby Miller, we do the same thing. It's going to be tough for you to know when his foot's in the ground, but I know because I can see the body is stopping with the hip. We're right there. Arm is up. Foot's in the ground, bearing the weight. His arm is up. All right, so your arm is loaded to a good spot. It just hasn't loaded up yet. So now as it does load up, we're going to see your arm doesn't load up until you start to rotate. So now that your shoulders are rotating, your elbow is getting underneath your hand. It's tough to see it from this angle because your body's in the way. But we can see that this elbow is going this way. But we're not seeing the hand come this way. So it's not like they're both going at equal rates. It's the elbow is going to get underneath the hand. All right, so right now, here's your elbow, and we can say your hand is probably roughly like somewhere around here. So as we're moving, the hand is not going this way to get underneath the elbow, which is here. This elbow here and the hand here, we see the elbow, all it's doing is going this way to get itself underneath the arm, rather than, what's going on here? This new update's got all different keys for me here. You see how his arm is back here, and now watch the hand goes above his elbow. Whereas over here, like we said, your elbow is going underneath your hand, right? Here's your elbow right here. We don't see your hand. And then, boom, here's your elbow over here, and then your hand is behind your head this way now. All right, so we could assume your hand is probably somewhere close to this line right here, but probably more down here. And then, boom, your elbow goes over there. So we are not loading our arm up and back as much as we feel we are, right? You feel right now you're super loaded because that elbow is retracted way behind you, but the hand's not with it. So now, in order to get things kind of going, your body feels like it's kind of got to get this head to kind of go this way just to get things to kind of start to whip around with your arm again. And because now we've been going this way more, like I talked about in our couple sessions, it makes it a lot more difficult for your body to get down the mound through release. Versus being able to get down that mound with that chest just a little bit more. If we then shift our focus over here, like we mentioned, lower body's doing a good job. Your upper body's in a good spot. Chin, shoulder, glove finishing. Getting ourselves to release. We're fighting to try to stay and keep that head on line. And then we can see our finish is kind of less than ideal. And what we just need to think about is this shoulder, this hand is going to be violently pulled across my body because the shoulders are violently continuing to rotate across the body. And that's going to help my hip, my knee, and my foot be able to come across the body a little bit smoother. But all in all, both of you guys are doing very good things for most of our delivery. We just have a little bit of a late developing arm over here because we have a little late developing rotation. You do all the movements the way we want them to be done, they're just a little late occurring. So if we can just get the lower body to do its thing a little bit sooner, that'll hopefully help the arm load up a little bit earlier, so then everything is on time when it comes through. Excuse me. And like I said, over here, things are looking good. We just need to be more explosive down and around through release, so that way we can get some extra power behind these throws. Your body's in a position to create the power. Now we just need to learn how to actually send that power. And that's also, guys, let's wear baseball hats. I mean, we're at baseball. Come on. Let's have hats. I've never seen so many kids not have baseball hats at baseball practice. You guys all got this long hair in your eyes. Let's wear hats. All right, we got you guys' videos here synced up. You get to watch them twice. First time will be all one motion. The second time we'll pause it at that moment that front foot hits the ground where you guys are synced up to. So that way we can talk about the delivery compared to the big leaguers that we just got done discussing and learning from. All right, so again, foot strike is not just when the foot hits the ground, and we can see both of you guys, because we're not quite really rotating your front leg at all, the inside part of your feet are hitting the ground first. We want to make sure that we rotate our front leg so that way your hip, your foot, and your knee aren't in such awkward positions. But we want them to be more in line with one another, okay? We want these to be more in line with one another. And what we're going to notice is as that foot gets into the ground fully, that knee has gotten all the way over here. Hasn't quite over here yet, but what we're going to notice is as you go to throw, where's the knee want to go? The knee needs to get over there. The knee needs to get over there. So if we want to throw healthy, strong, and accurate, we got to make sure that our knee gets in line with our hips and our feet when that front foot hits the ground. And right now we can see both of you guys aren't quite rotating those things, so that's why the inside part of your foot hits the ground first, then the whole foot rolls to the ground, and then the knees start to roll in line with that after. Okay? The one thing I'll note about the stride over here is if we kind of just draw a straight line from the back of your heel and through the toes as best we can, we're going to notice that your front leg doesn't really stride forward, but it kind of just opens itself up. Opens yourself up. So we would like to see a little bit straighter of a stride. As long as some part of your foot could be touching this line over here, we would say we'd be good. So you're just a little bit striding out. Just a little bit of an open stride. And we know what happens when we do that when we hit. Similar things can occur when we pitch. So both of you guys are going to need to learn how to rotate that front leg. And if you go to the mechanical drills playlist on my YouTube page and you scroll through and you look for the video titled Front Leg Rotation Drills, that's going to be exactly what you guys need to do to start practicing and learning how to rotate this front leg. From there, what we are going to notice is, like we talked about in the big league videos, at foot strike, we want our chin looking over our shoulder with our glove starting to finish up into our body. And what we can see over here is that this front shoulder is starting to fly open. The glove is staying away from the body, and your throwing shoulder is starting to come around. Not only that, you got this big old kind of hunch with your back while you're doing that. So now this is the angle or the axis of which you are going to rotate. We want to rotate forward, which means we need to be upright at this point in time. Because you are not upright, your rotation is not going to be forward. It's going to get flung out over here. And what we notice is as you go to throw, that's exactly what happens. Your arm gets flung out over there as the rest of your body continues this arch over there. So now we're not even rotating our shoulders to throw. We're just kind of throwing our shoulder out there. Right? And it's just all arm. We can see that because your arm comes whipping across your chin here. We need to throw this ball down, which means our arm would need to finish down. See that? Look at that arm. It went down. Why? Because the arm threw the ball down. Down. Your arm is throwing the ball up and out, and that's why your arm stays up and goes out. Very, very stressful to throw like that. Very, very unsafe for your arm to throw like that. We're going to have very little power, very little accuracy, and very little consistency with a throw that's being made like that versus a throw that's being made down. And the big reason that you have to throw like that is because your front leg's not rotating. And because your front leg's not rotating, this is trying to do something extra to counter that. And with the front leg not rotating, you doing something extra to counter that will ultimately lead to bad stuff after. So, again, we both need to learn how to rotate our front leg better so that way we can be in a better position going forward. From there, we also need to think that front leg just rotate forward more instead of out towards first base dugout. And then thinking, throw this ball down like we see over here. Something that's going to help you, bud, throw that ball down is if that chest starts to go down. And we can see as you rotate, that Under Armour logo stays pretty tall. Pretty tall. We need to be rotating this back shoulder down just like your throw goes down. Right? Now your chest is going down. Now that chest is going down a little bit. We need that chest to be going down through release. We need to be going down now. Going down now. Going down now. We can see it's just a little late. But like you said, you haven't pitched in a long time, right? So you're not used to being up on a platform throwing downhill. And these are just the nuances that we need to make sure we do when we are on this mound. So you're doing a lot of things really well on this mound naturally already. Now with just this information and this new knowledge, being able to apply it to a better delivery to help us throw harder and more accurate. And the big thing for you for that is going to be that stride being straight. Yeah, that front knee getting rotated more before that front foot hits the ground. But ultimately, because you are in a good position here with that upper body, we should be able to make this adjustment relatively easy, and that is getting that chest to go down with that throw. Slam your chest down as that arm follows it down after. And then over here, we just need to study all these deliveries. You can go back to all of your other teammates that are earlier in this video and watch what they're doing. You can go on to my YouTube page, and all of the Discussing Mechanics playlist has a bunch of big league videos like you watched earlier that talk about the pitching delivery in even more detail from other angles with other pitchers. You can go on my Instagram, Pitching Daily, and just watch hundreds of big league videos and how they move their bodies from different angles, so that way we can start to move our body cleaner. Because right now, this isn't a pitching thing, this is a throwing thing. A lot of the way you throw the ball is putting you in a position to find very little success in this position here on the mound, but most importantly, to not have a healthy, safe arm while you play any other position on the field.